This is a companion to the English translation of Social Anarchism and Organization. In this episode, Libertarian Socialism, Perpetuating Equality and Promoting Egalitarianism. Revolution brings about the end of one thing and necessitates the beginning of something else. But the objective of building a new society cannot really be distinguished from the work of destroying the old regime. The practice of developing and transforming society today has to be combined with a theoretically specific long-term objective. Social anarchism attempts to solve this problem by using the distant horizon to orient immediate action and inform short-term priorities. In this way, libertarian socialism is a universal guiding point for particular instances of struggle. The need to take political positions today is related to the universal and abstract final objective, just as the actions of mass movements are indistinguishable from the actions of individuals. A libertarian socialist society would consist of the organizing of equals interested in perpetuating equality and promoting egalitarianism. By contrast, under a capitalist regime, equality and rights are principles that will inevitably be interpreted by the controlling elite, in courts and in workplaces. Since capitalist society organizes itself around the interests of private property, all relations in society begin to define themselves through that lens. This means that in disputes between bosses and employees, a capitalist state will predictably side with the interests of property, because wealth perpetuates capitalism and ensures the privileged rights of capitalists within the state. This, in turn, protects the state from being overtaken by the rich, since they have no need to sabotage the legal veil of neutrality established by representative democracy. If there were no centralized state power, the people would have to take charge of the economic and political decisions of society themselves. But who exactly are the people? In Social Anarchism and Organization, the Anarchist Federation of Rio de Janeiro defines the self-managers of society as workers and consumers, asserting that the workers create the social product and the consumers enjoy it. In these two functions, mediated by distribution, the people are responsible for economic and political life, having to decide what to produce, and the consumers what to consume. The local structures of libertarian socialism in which workers and consumers organize themselves are the workers' and consumers' councils. This establishes three domains of the future economy to be coordinated by these councils: the production, the distribution, and the consumption. No one person made or developed the knowledge necessary to make the property that supposedly belongs to an elite few. This is also true in regards to the implementation of this property, which, for the worker or the peasant, is a lived experience. In cultivating the land, just as in utilizing private means of production, labor deserves its share of the value that is produced. However, the material lives of the exploited classes are not protected by property rights. People who do not own property are keenly aware of the direct use value of their personal possessions. Whether it's the roof over their heads or the clothes on their backs, thoughts of possessions occupy their fears and their dreams. And for the exploited, possessions include jobs, because quantified work, broken up into increments of time, can itself become a possession when converted into money. Currently, however, possession is an insufficient basis for organizing society, because under capitalism, in addition to personal possessions, some people also own property, which itself earns money, simply through its use and existence. This is something that possessions cannot do. Collectivization in a communist society would be an extension of personal possession to the point of abolishing private property. A revolutionary transformation in society will not be a seamless process. Overall production in the global economy will inevitably be affected. So the people will have to solve the problems of production in a socialist system by using technology. Not to benefit owners through reduction of labor costs, but instead to meet the consuming needs of society without occupying the time and therefore the life of exploited workers. In a libertarian socialist society, thanks to the elimination of artificially fabricated unemployment and the reduced demands on workers created by labor-saving technology, people will be freed up to spend their time doing a kind of work that they find rewarding. In their free time, some people will choose to occupy themselves with politics and democratic decision-making. Other people may spend their free time solving the logistical problems of organizing a complex, federalized society. But everyone will have the freedom to spend their time as they see fit, without fear of coercion or retribution. In describing this society, the Anarchist Federation of Rio de Janeiro explains that all those that are able to would need to work, there no longer being unemployment, and the work would be able to be performed in accordance with personal ability and disposition. People will no longer be obliged to accept anything under threat of experiencing want and not attaining their minimum living conditions. Children, the elderly, and those unable to work will be assured a dignified life without deprivation, all their needs being met. For the most tedious tasks, or those perceived as unpleasant, in some cases there could be rotations or alterations. Even in the case of carrying out of production, where the coordination of some specialists is needed, rotations in function and a commitment to the training of other workers with similar skills will also be necessary for more complex tasks. Rotating and alternating tasks, sharing responsibilities, and mentoring are all examples of the dynamic participation that will be needed in reorganizing society. The priorities of the revolution cannot be inflexible and uncompromising, even if it is expected of militants to remain diligent and principled. Today, if it is a radical proposal that workers receive just compensation for their labor, then it is obvious that a communist final objective, that of distributing the benefits of production based on need, remains beyond the scope of most people's imagination, much less their priorities. We must be dynamic and develop workable plans for immediate gains, and it is in the process of realizing these gains that we will develop the political unity and social force necessary to realize the ambition of a mass revolutionary movement.